Welcome back everyone to the Collector Channel. Today we'll be checking out some Babe Ruth cards from 1927 and 1928. We have a York Caramel, which is a candy card premium card, and the York Caramel candies, and then we also have two Babe Ruth ice cream cards. We have the Tharps and Harrington's Babe Ruth ice cream card. Let's take a closer look at all of them. So we'll start with this card first. This is the Tharps Ice Cream Babe Ruth. This is from 1928. Card number 6, given a PSA 2 grade. Just looking at the card, it definitely looks nicer than a 2, much nicer, presents a lot better. So this is one of those cards where people would say the eye appeal definitely far exceeds the actual grade it was given. If you look closely, there's a tiny bit of staining, which I don't think that really affects the grade too much. It's more of there's some creases that are very subtle. They don't show up too much. You have to really stare in hard. From this angle, I can't really see them. So yeah, I mean, definitely not easy to see. This card and the two others we'll look at show Babe Ruth in a pitching pose. So he's pitching for the Boston Red Sox. So he definitely did not play for the Red Sox in 1927 or 1928, but they did reuse the image from when he did play from the Red Sox, and I'm guessing that image is probably from 1916 or 17 would be my guess. So they use it, 12 years later, so roughly. And I'm glad they did that too. I'm glad they didn't abandon using some of his Red Sox images, because back when he actually played for the Red Sox, there wasn't a whole lot of cards of Babe Ruth. There were still some, but not nearly as many cards as they had of Babe Ruth in the 1920s. So I'm glad they reused that image. Let's check out the back here. So it says on the back, "Save these pictures." So these were a promotional item. It says, "One ice cream bar will be given free for each picture of Babe Ruth." So that's pretty cool. And there was a bunch of other players within this set too. It wasn't just Babe Ruth. I believe there's Gehrig and Cobb. So there's a bunch of other really good players to collect within this set. But that's a pretty good reason to get Babe Ruth for these kids, or whoever collected these back then. They could get some ice cream for it. This is also 1 gallon of Tharps ice cream will be delivered free to the holder of a complete set. Oh, cool. And it says there's 60 different baseball stars. So, I mean, that's a pretty decent set. So there's the front again. Next up, we have the Harrington's Babe Ruth. This is also from 1928. This one is still extremely rare, but a little bit more common than this Tharps Babe Ruth. At the moment, this is the second highest grade. I believe there's two or three PSA 2s, and I think there's like one higher, I'm pretty sure. This one, there's a few more. I don't know the exact population report offhand, but there are a bit more. I would think that's still under 20 total population for all graded through PSA would be my guess. This is a PSA 3. I think finding these with nice eye appeal, for one, is not easy, or really finding them at all is not easy, but with nice eye appeal, and especially in a grade 3 or higher, that's where it becomes really rare for these cards, finding them in a PSA or SGC 3 and higher. Here's the back. Kind of similar to the Tharps Babe Ruth. Looks like a similar promotion, and also 60 different baseball stars in the set. So yeah, definitely very similar. And there's actually another company that came out with a card in 1920. It looks identical to this and the Tharps Babe Ruth, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. I think it's Youngland's ice cream. They're actually still in business today, which is really cool. And they've been in business for a long time, and they had ice cream cards of Babe Ruth that looked identical to this in 1928. I don't have one of those, unfortunately, but it's definitely a card that I'm looking for. in a presentable grade or nice eye appeal. Next up, we have the 1927 E210 York Caramel Babe Ruth Type 1. So there's a Type 1 and a Type 2 of these cards. This is the Type 1 in a PSA 3, and extremely difficult to find in a PSA 3. It's just not easy. They don't come around very often, and there's not a whole lot graded higher. This is card number 6 again. And this is York Caramel Company, York, Pennsylvania. So there's 60 in this series also. So what they did is just took the same images, and then they just put the back stamping for the company that was using them. So that's the back of this one. I believe offhand the difference between Type 1 and Type 2 is this is just flipped around. There might be some other differences too. So it would be, the writing on here would be this way and not this way. So I'm pretty sure that's the difference on those. So we have York Caramel Type 1, Harrington's Babe Ruth Ice Cream, and the PSA 3, and then finally the Tharps Ice Cream Babe Ruth card. Alright, well, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.